And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. What is the number one movie podcast in the entire world? It's the Spoiler Room, and I am Mark the Movie Man. And yes, tonight we're taking a look at The Running Man, part of our January sci-fi month. And the significance of this is why we picked it as well, is not only because of the type of film it is, but this is one of three sci-fi films we'll be covering in January that is set in 2017, though the box says otherwise. And tonight with us is a great crew to discuss this classic action sci-fi film. First off, the BFD himself is back, the one and the only. It is Glenn Bittner. Hello, Glenn.
Hello. Still trying to get my voice back a bit from my illness.
Well, you sound a lot better than you did before. So
I feel a lot better than I did before.
Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. Glad you could join us. And next to him, we have the man, the myth, the legend. It is Mr. Paul Salzer. Hello, Paul.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Glad you could join us. Are you ready to start running?
I definitely am. I just got past Snowmageddon 2017, so I'm ready for running.
Blah, blah. It's a lot of snow. Anyway.
Love Wisconsin, baby.
You gotta love the snow. And if you're not familiar with The Running Man, we're going to give you the long description here because I love this description. The year is 2017. The world economy has collapsed. Great freedoms of the United States are no longer, as the once great nation has sealed its borders off and become a militarized police state censoring all film, art, literature, and communications. Even so, a small resistance force led by two revolutionaries manages to fight the oppression. With full control over the media, the government attempts to quell the nation's yearning for freedom by broadcasting a number of game shows on which convicted criminals fight for their lives. The most popular and sadistic of these programs is The Running Man, hosted by Damon Killian. When peaceful protest of starving citizens gathers in Bakersfield, California, a police officer named Ben Richards is ordered to fire on the crowd, which he refuses to do. Soon he's subdued by other officers and finds himself as part of the Running Man game. Man, revisiting this film, I forgot just how crazy wild this film is. Glenn, how about you? This is like, if you want an example of action 80s sci-fi film, would you say this is one of the epitome films of that?
Yes. Absolutely. This is man, and it's not just sci-fi films. It's like one of the best and most iconic Schwarzenegger films.
Yes. I will definitely agree with that. Paul, how about you as well? Would you say this is one that just is a must-see if you're a fan of 80s just action films in general?
Oh, definitely. It has the over-the-top action. It has the cheesy one-liners and the funny kind of weird sci-fi-ish type music with heavy synth type of influence. So yeah, definitely this is like an 80s, early 90s type of action film. You just got to love it.
Oh, you do, especially the one-liners. And now it was directed by Paul Michael Glasser, who directed a few films in his time, and then he went on to do a lot of TV stuff. But it's based off of a novel by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King, if you don't know that he wrote under another name. But the screenplay, which this just started in the credits, and I'm watching this and I'm going, the people in this film and involved in this film, it's amazing. We have Stephen E. De Souza. Now, if you're not familiar with the name because you don't pay attention to the screenplay credits, he's the guy that gave us Die Hard 1 and 2, 48 Hours. I mean, this name a really cool 80s action movie. He wrote the screenplay, and he also wrote Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando. Mm-hmm. And tell me, he knows how to write Arnold, doesn't he, Paul?
Oh yes, definitely. He's got the Arnold's humor. He's got his, he's got that suaveness about him. It's just totally in the Arnold character. It comes out.
Well, let's not forget his signature cigar either. There's right off the bat, you watch his film, and it's set in 2017, and we'll get into it a little bit later. We'll get into it a little bit later. The how little bit of a prophetic film this has become, but we're started out with Ben Richards. We're introduced him as the helicopter pilot, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Glenn, he's kind of trying to show his acting chops here. this helicopter scene. How'd you feel how this film opened?
They just want some food, for God's sakes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it comes to, picking things up and throwing them and cutting people in half, he's great. When it comes to, words coming from his mouth, if it's not Crom, it's better left unsaid.
It is a young career. I mean, he got better with his line delivery later, but this is still kind of...
Still from there. I mean, he does have some good lines in this that I love, too.
Oh, yeah. When he gets into being Action Arnold, he delivers his lines better. But here in the beginning, he's just trying to be good cop. And the way he's delivering these lines, just like, oh, man, whose idea was this?
Oh, yeah. There's a few where it's like, wow, I like the one-liners, but I like it when they say a bit more than that. Because, I mean, there's like one where I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it's something along the lines of, you can take that contract and shove it down your throat, but leave room for my fist because I'm going to ram it down there and pull out your goddamn spine. Yeah. I'm like, yes, that's better. It's like he's so mad, he just has to keep going and going and going.
Oh yeah, it is classic Arnold at his finest. Heck, we even get, out of all his one-liners, we even get the "I'll be back" line in here. Did you catch that, Paul?
I did. But you actually get to have Killian say something back to the line. It just doesn't hang there. He actually says something along the lines of, "But only in reruns."
Yeah, only in a rerun. I love that exchange. It's like, oh man. So yeah, Arnold is just in fine form in this with his one-liners. And what's funny is finding out, paying attention, who wrote the screenplay. I was paying attention a little more, and there's throwback to other things in this film too, besides just Arnold's stuff. They're just little bits and pieces of things, from wrestling and everything in this film. They kind of work a lot of interesting angles with this. But it's not just Arnold. He's got, this cast is just crazy who's in here. We got the wonderful Maria Conchita Alonso, who does well as Amber Mendez. She's a female who ends up getting tied up into this, Ben Richards being part of the Running Man. He's one that when he escaped from his initial incarceration, he invaded her apartment because he thought it was his brother's, and she ends up finding out the truth that he was framed, and she does actually literally get tied up at one point, and he kidnaps her to try to escape, and of course she turns him in, but then she finds out the truth and ends up part of the Running Man. And I've liked Maria Conchita Alonso for quite some time. Moscow on the Hudson, she was in Predator 2. I mean, she's a good actress, and I think she holds her own in this. But what do you think of her character, Glenn, in this? Not exactly a full strong female character, but she's not exactly too pushover. I mean, she has a little bit of a growth in this film, doesn't she?
Yeah, I'd say she's a little bit.
I mean, for an '80s film, it's
I mean, she's no Melina from Total Recall,
right?
But
very few ladies are Melina.
Yes, athletic and demure. Yeah, no,
yeah,
no, but yeah, I mean, I think she's fine. It's she serves the purpose that she's supposed to serve in the film. I mean, the role could have been, I think, done better, but as you said, it was the 80s.
It was the 80s, and she does get a few lines too, and she plays a pivotal role in the resistance. later on, as she's the one that has to remember this very long number to help hack into the satellite so they can take over, because TV is 24/7. It sounds very familiar. And there's reality TV shows, which
My God.
sounds very familiar. It's eerie looking at what this film is showing and where we currently are at, isn't it, Paul? Sci-fi, I know, always tends to be a little, try to predict, but man, this one is kind of creepy when you watch it.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, they were right on a lot of like predictions of what it, how badly it could get. But I think most like entertainment, they talk about kind of like how celebrity is more important in this world. Celebrity is kind of like outweighed morality and humanity, and that's kind of like what today is. You got reality stars that are way more popular than the heroes that we used to idolize back a few decades ago. So it's a very interesting thing that they predicted that celebrity would be such a big thing, and how various like reality game shows and how that's creeped into our thing. But also too, it kind of plays on the whole like the downfall of the Roman Empire, where people had to watch the gladiatorial combats because it was a distraction of what was going on. So it's interesting how history and the future just is constantly rolling and rolling and rolling, and this film does a good job of rolling with that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the gladiator thing in Colosseum, because that is here. Now that you mention it, this does have kind of a Roman Empire feel of distract them from the fact that people are starving and need ration cards and such. And you have the 24/7 TV, as well as the announcements in the background, which I listened to better this time, especially on the DVD remastered special edition I've got that came out in 2004. But they're in the background talking about, if you have a family member who you suspect, you can report them.
Oh my God.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, man, this just, the future it painted. Glenn, wouldn't you say they did predict, at least reality TV, kind of how far it's come? Would you say it was a bit prophetic as far as TV and media entertainment? Yeah. I mean, we're not at the extreme yet, but we're only a little jump away from that, wouldn't you say?
I think we're more than a little jump away from actual blood sport.
Blood sport. There's another one. But Glenn, in here, you do have the more vile people actually having a higher status in the culture, which we do kind of have today in some ways. Those who are worse are more attention than those who are doing good, wouldn't you say?
What's that?
We've got more people in the film, the people really doing bad things. I mean, you had the stalkers and that who seem to be more popular than people doing good, and we've kind of got that today a little bit, don't we?
A little bit, but I mean, figure two, I mean, the way the show was done is that these were just normal people on the show. These were all supposed to be criminals, trying to clear their record. So of course, I mean, well, actually, if it was more realistic, the truth is there'd probably be more people rooting for the criminals than there would be for the stalkers. So in that way, I think you got it wrong. But no, I think
they do start.
They got some things right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They do start talking about, we do have the crowd starting to cheer for Ben Richards as he moves along and takes out these stalkers. So it does kind of take that angle of it. I tell you, though, the host of The Running Man, what better person, Paul, to cast than the man who was a game show host for many years on the Family Feud, and he gets to play just the ultimate asshole in this film. What'd you think of Richard Dawson's Killian?
I loved him. He's a great person to play off of Arnold's kind of stiffness, because Richard Dawson, he's very, very fluid, and his body moves as he's talking, and his face moves, and you really see him, like, it felt like he enjoyed making fun of his own persona, because he got to be this big asshole, when normally you would expect him to be this, nice guy. He goes up, he kisses all the ladies and stuff like that. And in this film, he kisses the ladies and he makes a little sly comment. It was interesting how he was able to play off of his persona, and just kind of bring it to that edge. And I think he's kind of winking at us, and I enjoyed his performance for that.
I have a feeling he was expelling a few feelings that he's held back over the years running a game show.
Yeah, he was able to yell at all the people that are around him, and it was just, but it came back. It came back and bit him in the butt,
But it was funny because when I remember when this film came out and you saw who was cast in it, I was like, "What, Richard Dawson? Really?"
No, I'm like that guy from Hogan's Heroes. What the heck?
Glenn, you remember when this film came out? Did that surprise you too? Dawson was in this film, but before you saw it, it was natural.
I don't think it surprised me. No. I don't think I was really, I was whatever in any of it. But the second you see him, you're like, yeah, oh my God, did they nail that?
Yeah, whoever cast that needed a little extra money in their envelope. But we also have Dweezil Zappa and Mick Fleetwood in here, and Jim Brown, Yaphet Kotto in here, who I really liked them in this as the guys who kind of get tied up, get up in the Running Man as well, and following Ben Richards through the gauntlet of the stalkers who kill him. And I wish he would have had more screen time, but he always seems to get small amount of screen time. But whenever he's in a role, I really enjoy him. And yes, we do have two former governors in this film. Not only do we have Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we have Paul. Who do we have in here besides Arnold Schwarzenegger for governor?
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Who gets the most cheesy line in the entire film, and it's delivered in the most cheesy way possible, to where you should take a drink whenever Jesse talks. But especially this line where he just goes, "Code of the Gladiator." Oh my God!
If anybody else would have delivered it, come on.
Yeah.
What was that, Glenn?
Are you ready for pain?
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing workout
videos.
Captain Freedom, who was once a stalker, who is retired.
10 years retired. Remember that?
10 years retired. Yes. So the Running Man had been running for quite some time, which means he was probably one of the first stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
Then, because the show was about 10 years old, they said in there. So,
and he even said, when he was doing it, he was using his bare hands, and you can see now that the new stalkers, they're using technology and weapons and things to, like, again, distract people more. So
yes.
It was nice. They added that evolution of the game show, with it.
Well, the show, like anything, had to evolve and get more extreme, probably, to keep the ratings, because that was the whole thing that was motivating Damon Killian through the whole thing, was just ratings for his show. He didn't really care. At one point he's making a deal with Ben Richards, for crying out loud. He's saying your ratings, because that's all he really cared for. But I dug these slayers, the stalkers that go out there in the Running Man and go after them. Glenn, which one of them were your favorite, or stood out for you of the killers in this movie?
Oh man. Well, I mean, Captain Freedom is too easy. So, I'm forgetting his name now. Flamethrower dude.
Fireball.
Fireball. Yeah.
Played by Jim Brown. Yeah.
Yeah. Fireball was pretty fun. I mean, they all have their little things. I mean, well, Sub-Zero didn't have much, but Fireball was great, and Dynamo. That was his name, right?
Yeah, Dynamo, the electric guy
with the opera.
Yeah.
He carried around his own weakness everywhere he went.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, and then he drives his car too, and he just, doesn't pay attention that he's trying to drive it uphill. It flips on him, where gives us a moment though to showing Ben Richards has some mercy, unlike the stalkers where he won't kill. I will not kill an innocent human or a helpless human being, even one as despicable as you. For me, I kind of dug Buzzsaw, and the reason is I looked at that Buzzsaw again, and someone correct me, but did he steal that from Leatherface 3? Did that chainsaw looked an awful lot like the one from Leatherface 3, or at least from the trailer, the one that held it up, where you had the really long blade and you got the little spikes near the end. It just, Buzzsaw was great. I loved his crazy eyes, and he drove around on that motorcycle. And and of course our man Ben Richards dispatches at least most of these stalkers in ways where he can drop, his one-liner.
Yes. Here's Sub-Zero. Now, Plane Zero.
He's a pain in the neck, and
Buzzsaw
had to split.
Yeah, Buzzsaw had to split.
Oh my God.
In fact, I think after they did the helicopter scene, I think they realized the futility of having Arnold have really long batches of dialogue. So he just kind of wrote one-liners for Arnold afterwards, because he talks in shorter sections after that. Oh man, but yeah, so Arnold, and you got some crazy bloody action in this. Yes, this is rated R, thank God, because it just adds to the the 80s extreme action vibe to it. But then you got the Resistance storyline, which kind of felt almost like an afterthought in this film in many ways. Until they get to the tower. And what I found interesting with that as well, though, with that they're talking about taking over and logging into the network. And a lot of that from 87, you're looking at that while the graphics were primitive. Some of the technology they use in here, Paul, they're using today, including the video editing with the overlay.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say that some of the technology they predicted in there came true?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we definitely do a lot of that. In fact, Arnold had to use it in one of his movies where they put his face on top of somebody else's body. So it works.
Yeah, he actually was. He was
two different Terminator films. I think they had to do that actually.
He actually was composited later on in real life in one of his own Terminator films. So it kind of came full circle there with the compositing. But also, they had the thing where he could order a plane ticket from home.
Oh yeah,
in 87, so no one who didn't work outside a library really knew much that internet. But here, he logged into a terminal and he was able to order his plane tickets right from home. And I'm like, holy crap!
Voice activated appliances.
Voice activated appliances. Hello, the Google and the Amazon devices they have now. It's just kind of creepy. Glenn, what'd you think about the technology in here? Isn't it kind of interesting how they predict where it actually went and what we have today?
A little bit, sure.
Would you say it was fairly accurate? I mean, oh, I guess this isn't the only 80s sci-fi film to do that, would you say?
To a degree, it's accurate. I mean, we don't have lightning cars,
That's true. We don't have the lightning cars yet.
which is probably good. We also, don't just walk around wearing our underwear, wearing an electro suit over it, which is also nice.
But I think the Prius has about the same power as that electro car, though.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh, but this film is just so much fun, and watching it, it makes me, it sounds bad, and either one of you can just slap my hand or whatever, but it makes me miss, in today's day and age, the rated R action film.
Yay! Let's start our own production company.
Well, I mean, you get some cheesy stuff, but I mean, now for wide release, it's harder to find a good rated R action film, and this in 80s, this one, it's like, watch this if you ever want a flavor of an 80s extreme action film. And that's what I love about it too, is I watching it again going, oh man, I wish we could kind of go back to films like this. Glenn, do you think it's just because of the culture change that we don't get quite as many of these films? Because some of these with the one-liners and that seem to be coming out all the time in the 80s, and nowadays we are they just too cheesy for today's audience? Or
It could be. I think they just took them out and added in. They took out 90% of the dialogue in most action films and just said, we need more explosions.
That is true. But even with the extreme action in that, it's a sci-fi film, and it was still making a statement, about society. And that's what I really enjoyed about this, is that even through all that action and extreme, everything, and the one-liners and the swearing and the blood and everything, there is a message at its core, isn't there, Paul?
Oh, definitely. That you can hide a resistance force inside of another force, inside of a game show.
Right? Well, that's where you hide all your resistance.
Yeah, exactly.
What'd you think about this resistance force? Did this feel like they were they felt kind of like cast-offs from the movie Hackers?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I totally was expecting him to go, oh, the 5 most common passwords are heart and boss, God. Love. But maybe it's because it's the technology, but I mean, how'd you feel about these resistance guys? I mean, was it surprising they even lasted this long?
Oh.
I mean, it sounds harsh, but is it because, they didn't really, they were good at taking off the explosive collars, but they really didn't seem to have, you would have thought they would have noticed that it was actually in the exact area where they've been hiding out.
Yeah, no kidding. That's how the one teacher guy was able to find it. He was like, hey, wait, those towers are pointing in. They're inside the thing too. Nobody else noticed that they weren't pointed straight up.
He was the brains of the group, because he could hack that satellite just long enough to give her the very long code.
This from the guy at the beginning of the movie, that all he did was try to type in the 6 same numbers over and over again, while this other guy on the other end was overriding him with another probably 6 sets of numbers, and they were just going back and forth saying, these 6 numbers are going to work. And the other guy's like, no, they won't. And it's like, yes, they will. No, they won't. Ah!
Well, what got me about that scene, and as you can tell, folks, we as much as we love this film, there are many flaws in it. And what got me was he had the terminal, Glenn. He put in the code, and it wasn't working. So what does he say? Oh, it must not work inside. Never mind the fact the cop was just using it inside the warehouse not 2 minutes before.
Exactly.
No, that's completely. Well, of course it works inside for a cop. different.
It's different because he's the hacker, so it wouldn't work for him. So they had to take it outside.
Yeah.
He's on the Sprint network. The other guy's on Verizon. Come on. They predicted that.
There they go. Can you hear me now? Damn, no, the collar's not disarmed yet.
Oh no.
Yeah, I thought that was just hilarious with that, and then
Would you keep running though? After everybody's screaming, "Don't! It's still on! It's still on!" No, I still believe I can make it.
Well, yeah, that's what got me too. Is that they're yelling at the guy? No, he's got the explosive collar in the prison because all these prisoners have explosive collars on them, and they think they have the gate disarmed. So the guy makes a run for it, and they're all telling him, "No, don't!" And he keeps running like, "No, I got this!" And his head just pops like a balloon, and in all its gory, bloody fun.
Well, they had to do that. Had to. Because you can't have a movie and say, "Here's an explosive collar," without showing someone dying from the explosive collar. You have to show it. Once you introduce that, you have to use it.
Once you mention it, it has to be done. Someone's head's gotta pop.
Exactly.
I love that logic.
It's true though. That is true though. It's like the whole foreshadowing thing, where you have the lovebirds in a horror film who say, "Oh, I love you," and the guy will propose to her right there, and you're going, "Oh, he's dead or she's dead." It's just
exactly.
Like, no, the two people who have the brightest outlook for the future, one of them's going to get eaten. That's just.
There's certain things that happen in movies that it's anyone who says, "Oh, I'm 4 days to retirement."
Oh.
Unless you're Danny Glover,
yes,
that is not going to go well for you.
No,
Danny Glover, or if you're in Killer Rack.
Yeah, that's true. If you're in Killer Rack, there's a fun film as well. Oh man. But this film, I love the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the guy who just wanted to get out, and clear his name and ends up getting caught up in the resistance. Just that kind of classic guy caught in a bigger plan than what he ever originally thought he would be involved in. And so I liked how they wrote the Ben Richards character, though it is Arnold. And once again, we get reminders of just how strong Arnold is in every scene possible. I mean, they're in the prison and, everybody's working and kind of toiling. And Paul, what's Arnold carrying?
I don't know, that thing looked like a girder of some sort.
He's carrying this huge steel girder. And I'm just looking at this going, we know he's strong. Okay. We know this.
He had, as he's holding it though, he has that perfect flexed bicep thing going. It's like when I hold something, I hold it to the side. I'm not flexing. I'm not doing the like. He looked like he was like woo, and you can see that big mound there. It was like awesome. I loved it.
He's flexing and all sweaty, and it just like, oh man, yes, we know Arnold is strong. Okay. Well, and then you get that later on too, after he ties up Maria Conchita Alonso, which we do thank him for that scene. But I didn't say that. But he ends up picking up her workout Bowflex or whatever, and rips it out of the floor. I'm like, we know he's strong. Must we prove that he's the Hulk? I was totally waiting for him to turn green, and start running. And the society that they have painted in here, you have what I kind of liked is you didn't quite have what might be expected as there's a little hint of it, but not nearly as much of your class warfare as you might think, because it seemed like everybody was equal when it came to being fans of the Running Man. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Did you feel that they were trying to portray some class separation in there, or was they kind of showing on how that everybody loved the show? Would you say? Paul?
Me?
Yeah.
I actually thought that it did show that it had a unifying effect because you had the rich people that probably thought, yeah, even they made a comment about it in the movie where the Justice Department liked the fact that they were having it because people were inside watching that and not outside doing riots and doing the things that they didn't want them to do, and the poor people liked the excitement of the film because it made them realize that their life isn't as bad as that other guy's life.
It could be worse. You could be chased by the stalkers. So
Or Ben Richards.
or Ben Richards, you know.
Boy.
You don't want to be chased by Ben Richards, who at the end of this film,
Hell no, that guy can carry steel girders.
that's true.
And lift Bowflex off the ground. I think it was bolted though. It was bolted.
It was.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here going, she's not that big of a person. Did she need to bolt the furniture to the floor? I'm not sure.
His brother had to have done it though, because it was like 2 weeks ago.
It had to be from his brother because she inherited the apartment from him. Who they said he was what, a dissident or something. They
re-educated.
Re-educated. That's right, because they hint at that too, that the government re-educates people. And yeah, this paints a rather scary 2017 future. So they got some things right. Reality TV, while we don't have that extremeness, it seemed like reality TV was the #1 programming of the TV shows in this world, didn't it, Glenn? That pretty much everything was reality TV.
Well, yeah, that's what the future holds for us. Everything's reality TV and Taco Bell.
Well, Taco Bell, that was Demolition Man, and you know what?
Oh, I know.
And you could almost make a jump from Running Man to Demolition Man. That's scary.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, I bet you that out on the internet somewhere, if it hasn't, we just talked about it, so it's probably become a thing where someone's probably tried to combine the what we would call it, the ACU, the Arnold Combined Universe. Try to put all of his films together in the same world. Oh, I bet you could almost do it.
Via Last Action Hero, it already did.
That's true. Yeah, there is Last Action Hero. So I think that we've talked enough about this action film. I wanted to bring it up. Dawn wanted to mention it too because it was set in 2017. And even though the box says 2019, and I think the book, like we were talking about before the show, Paul, I think was set in what?
2025.
Yep. So, you know, date, you know, but it is say 2017 in the film, and the film is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year because it came out in 87. So there you go. So another significance, and it is 117th episode. So we got a lot of 17s in here today. So I hope this kind of wet your whistle for it. We have to just mention, and I think I may just put it at the end of this episode, the cheesy 80s sci-fi song that is played over the credits. Pretty much, you know, there you go. That, if anything, your 80s action film is not complete without the cheesy 80s song. I forgot what the heck was it called even. I thought I had it in my Running Away From You, I believe it was. So I think we'll wrap it up here for the night. Just a couple of little tidbits I wanted to drop real quick. The choreography of the dancers for the Running Man. Paula Abdul.
Yeah.
Paula Abdul did the choreography for those dancers. And I saw that in the credits. I'm like, oh my God, Paula Abdul.
Could they have a scene like that in a modern movie? I don't know.
The Dancing Girls?
The Dancing Girls. I think people would be like upset by that. I don't know.
What do you think, Glenn? You think you could have the Dancing Girls still? I think you would.
You think you could?
Sure.
I mean, there'd be protests, but they'd still do it, right?
Well, because it's a dystopian future and they're showing you the bad that future can be if they allowed
Yeah,
okay.
the
I'm good with that.
sexualization. Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
There you go. And also notice there is a show by this network, which we didn't name the name, ICS, I believe it's called, called The Hate Boat. So
Yes, I saw the picture in the background.
there's a poster in the back called The Hate Boat. So I just like, I want to see that show. I really do. So hope that wet your whistle here, folks, for The Running Man. As you can tell, we've had a lot of fun with it. It is a fun movie. It is your cheesy 80s one-liners, rated R, bloody deaths. Just Arnold at probably, one of his peaks as far as films go. And this is the rest of the cast around him. It's worth a watch, I think. Glenn, your final thought with Running Man. Would you recommend it to modern sci-fi audiences?
Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Yes, of course. 100%, 110%. It's definitely one worth seeing.
Yeah, I agree. And Paul, how about you? Would you still recommend it to even a newer viewer today, saying, please, you should seek this film out?
Yes, you should. I personally don't think it's one of his best films, because I think there are a lot of films in his body of work that I like better, but this is definitely a great film. There are two things I did want to quickly add before we.
Sure. Yeah, no, go ahead.
There's a scene in there where they do these little weird details throughout the whole movie, and we talked about it with the hate boat. They didn't draw any attention to it, but there's also another scene where there's on a monitor in the background, there's some really hilarious things on the monitor. So pause the screen and read some of the stuff that's going on in the background. Some of the messaging in there, it's hilarious.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
There's just like a little monitor, I think, right around the scene where Jesse is strangling
Yes.
Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So right in there, there's a small monitor, and you'll see these things just kind of scrolling back like credits, and just pause it and read some of the credits that are going on. They have some really funny things going on, like music by Do Re Mi and stuff like that.
Oh,
so,
nice.
and the other thing that I wanted to bring up that we hadn't mentioned was that I believe the director is actually Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
Yes.
The actor. So that's kind of a weird thing that I didn't notice until you like brought up the director, and I was like, oh yeah, who is this director? And it's like, oh wait, I know that director.
Yeah,
I didn't know him as a director, but I knew him as an actor.
Oh yeah, he was in Starsky and Hutch. He played Starsky.
Yeah.
He was a prominent TV actor, and he also dabbled in the directing of TV shows and movies. He did a number of TV shows and films. After Running Man, he did the film The Cutting Edge, then The Air Up There, and he did the film that's been in the internet culture recently of social media, Kazam. So for those of you following articles about the Mandela effect, and if there was a Shazam movie starring Sinbad, and people bring up Kazam, that was brought to you by the same director as The Running Man, which is just a little more surreal. Never mind the fact it was Dave Starsky who directed The Running Man. So
I think that TV experience really helped him with this film, to bring out that whole TV quality about, the show, The Running Man show.
Oh, it did capture that feel, and having Richard Dawson as a host and him having the TV background, and then you have the guy who wrote, any great action 80s film, but especially Arnold action. It's just a great combination along with this cast. And yeah, it's great points there, Paul. It's just a lot of fun. It's not taking itself too seriously ever. And you're not supposed to. But in the end, I think you'll find yourself having some satisfaction in a fun Arnold film, even if he does have an awkward kissing scene at the end, which, like, why'd they have him kiss? Poor Maria Conchita Alonso. She's really putting her all into the kiss, and Arnold is just, I don't know. I'm going to slip you the tongue.
Oh my God.
So with that, we will call it a night. Please stick with us in all of January as we continue Sci-Fi Month. We have 2 more films. Both of those are set in 2017 as well. And we'll see if any of those were prophetic in their displays in the film. So we thank you for listening. Please subscribe to us on iTunes if you haven't already, as well as rate and comment. Head over to Special Mark Productions, and you can find all of our stuff there, all the archives of the Spoiler Room, as well as our email is there as well. So give us a shout if there's a film you'd like to hear us talk about on the Spoiler Room. We'll be happy to take a look at that. And now's the part where you get to find out where you can find all these fantastic people when they are not gracing us here with their presence. So Glenn, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Facebook, just being on Facebook, or the People We Bunker, or Guy in a Bunker Productions, guyinabunker.com, or also check out my other podcasts. I'm on this thing called occasionally Film Jerks and After Radio Z, and also the Adventure Party podcast.
Yes, check out those, especially that Adventure Party. If you're a gamer, very informative, a lot of fun. I've learned many things from that podcast, Glenn. So, very cool podcast you have there. And
Thanks.
Paul, how about you, sir?
You can find me at Forsaken Film Reviews. You can also find me at Film Jerks 2.0. And now you can also learn more about the second Northeast Wisconsin Horror Film Festival coming up.
Ooh, is that website up now?
The site is up, but we just got sort of penciled in for our weekend. It's the second weekend of October. And it's in the same venue, so it's a wonderful, wonderful venue. So definitely look into it. And we've got all the stuff from last year, and we're going to slowly, over the next few weeks, start putting out information for the new festival. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. So you horror film fans out there and horror filmmakers, keep an eye out for that new Horror Fest, the Northeast Wisconsin Horror Film Festival, and make sure you get your subscription. Excuse me. Submissions. Wow. It's been a long evening. Submissions in. So we thank you very much. And now say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.